6 months after the bonding ceremony, Alex and Zalara stood together on the observation deck of the joint research station orbiting between Earth and Zephyria. The massive structure housed scientists from dozens of species all working together on projects that would have been impossible just 1 year ago. Through the transparent walls, they could see ships arriving daily bringing new researchers, eager to join what the galactic media had started calling the Great Collaboration. Zalara had changed dramatically since their bonding. Her confidence had grown with each successful project and each presentation to international science councils. She no longer touched her scars unconsciously or tried to hide in corners during social gatherings. When she walked into a room, now other beings turned to listen because they knew her words would be worth hearing. Her grayscale seemed brighter too, as if happiness had given them new life. Alex watched his wife explain her latest discovery to a group of visiting diplomats from the Centauri Alliance. She was describing how her universal growing medium could be modified to work in zero-gravity environments. The diplomats listened with fascination as she showed them holographic models of space farms that could feed entire star systems. 6 months ago, these same beings would not have acknowledged her existence. Now they hung on her every word. The transformation in Zephyrian society had been equally dramatic. Emperor Korthax had issued new laws allowing unmarried females to contribute to imperial research programs. Dozens of previously ignored Zephyrian women had come forward with breakthrough innovations in medicine, engineering, and space travel. The Empire's technological advancement had accelerated faster than anyone thought possible. Other species had taken notice of these changes and were beginning to question their own social prejudices. The Andromedan Republic had started promoting scientists based on merit rather than family connections. The Titan Confederation was funding research projects led by beings they had previously considered inferior. Change was spreading across the galaxy like ripples on water. Dr. Sarah Kim approached Alex and Zalara as the diplomatic group moved on to tour other sections of the station. The Earth Council just approved funding for 3 more research stations, she announced with excitement. They want to expand the collaboration program to include every inhabited system in our sector of the galaxy. That's wonderful news, Zalara replied with the musical laugh that Alex loved hearing. We'll need to train more coordinators and establish communication protocols for species we haven't worked with before. The linguistic challenges alone will be fascinating to solve. Alex smiled as he listened to his wife discuss logistical details with the enthusiasm she brought to every problem. Her mind worked so quickly that she often saw solutions before others even understood the questions. Working beside her every day had made him a better scientist and a better person. The communication device on Alex's wrist chimed with an incoming message. Captain Rodriguez's image appeared in a holographic display looking excited about something. Alex, I have news from Earth Command. They're offering you and Zalara positions at the Soul Institute. Full research budgets, unlimited resources, and your own department to run however you want. It would mean coming back to Earth, but they're willing to build special accommodations for Zephyrian physiology. Alex looked at Zalara to gauge her reaction. Her golden eyes were thoughtful as she considered the offer. What do you think? He asked quietly. It would be a chance to work with Earth's best scientists and have access to research facilities we could never build here. It would also mean leaving my people when they are finally beginning to change, Zalara replied. So many Zephyrian females are discovering their voices for the first time. I feel responsible for helping guide that transformation. Before Alex could respond, another message arrived on his device. This one was from Emperor Korthax himself. The alien ruler's silver face looked more relaxed than Alex had ever seen it. Daughter, the Imperial Science Council has voted to offer you the position of Chief Research Director. You would oversee all technological development for the Empire and have unlimited authority to recruit talent from any species. The Council believes your unique perspective and proven abilities make you the ideal leader for our new age of cooperation. Zalara stared at her father's image with amazement. The position he was offering was one of the most powerful in the Zephyrian Empire. No female had ever held such authority, and certainly not one who had been considered worthless just months before. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say yes," Alex encouraged her. "You've earned this opportunity, and you'll be amazing at it. But what about the Earth position? We can't accept both offers." Zalara was quiet for several minutes thinking through their options. Finally, she turned to Alex with a smile that lit up her entire face. "What if we created something new instead of choosing between old systems? What if we proposed a rotating research program where scientists spend time working on different worlds and stations? People could learn from multiple cultures and bring new perspectives to every project." Alex felt his heart swell with pride and love as he listened to his brilliant wife solve yet another impossible problem. "That's genius," he said, taking her scarred hands in his. "A truly galactic research network where knowledge flows freely between all species. It would revolutionize how we approach scientific cooperation." Dr. Sarah Kim had been listening to their conversation with growing excitement. The logistics would be complex but manageable. We could establish exchange programs and joint research initiatives that would benefit everyone involved. Earth Command would love the idea because it would give human scientists access to alien technology and methods. Within hours, Zalara and Alex had drafted a proposal for the Galactic Research Exchange Program. The plan outlined how scientists from every species could work together on rotating assignments, sharing knowledge and building relationships across cultural boundaries. They sent copies to Earth Command, the Zephyrian Imperial, Council, and science organizations throughout known space. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Species that had been suspicious of each other for centuries were eager to participate in a program that promised mutual benefit without political strings attached. The Andromedan Republic offered to host the first exchange station. The Titan Confederation volunteered to provide advanced manufacturing facilities for building new research equipment. 3 months later, Alex and Zalara attended the opening ceremony for the first Galactic Research Exchange Station. Representatives from 47 different species gathered to celebrate what many were calling the beginning of a new age in interstellar cooperation. Emperor Korthax stood beside the Earth ambassador as they officially inaugurated the program that his daughter had designed. As the ceremony concluded, Zalara pulled Alex aside to a quiet observation lounge overlooking the station's main laboratory. Through the transparent walls, they could see beings from dozens of worlds working together on projects that would have seemed impossible just 1 year ago. A human biochemist was collaborating with a Zephyrian engineer to develop new medical treatments. Andromedan mathematicians were sharing equations with Titan physicists to solve faster-than-light travel problems. "Do you ever regret your decision?" Zalara asked quietly. "You gave up your chance to return to Earth and live among your own people. Sometimes I wonder if you made too great a sacrifice for someone you barely knew." Alex turned to look at his wife really look at her the way he had that first day in the palace gardens. Her gray scales caught the light from the laboratory below, making patterns that shifted like silver water. Her golden eyes held wisdom and kindness that had only grown deeper with time. The scars on her neck and arms were part of her story part, of what made her strong and beautiful and uniquely herself. "I didn't sacrifice anything," Alex said, pulling her close. "I gained everything. I found the most brilliant scientist in the galaxy, and she happened to also be the most amazing person I've ever known. I found work that matters and a future worth building. Most importantly, I found out that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who makes you want to be better than you thought you could be." Zalara smiled and leaned against him as they watched the galaxy's greatest minds working together in harmony. "When I was young, I used to dream about the day when my people would judge others by their contributions rather than their appearance," she said. "I never imagined that dream would come true, or that a human would be the one to help make it happen." "Humans have a talent for seeing possibilities that others miss," Alex replied. "But you're the one who turned those possibilities into reality." You showed the galaxy that brilliance comes in many forms, and that the most valuable discoveries often come from the most unexpected places. As they stood together watching the future unfold, Alex realized that their story had become something bigger than either of them had imagined. They had started as two individuals from different worlds who found connection across the barriers of species and culture. They had become symbols of what was possible when beings chose to look beyond surface differences and recognize the worth in every thinking creature. Princess Zalara stared at Alex for what felt like forever. Tears began forming in her golden eyes as she searched his face for any sign that he was lying or playing some cruel joke. "You cannot mean this," she whispered. "I am scarred and ugly, and no one has ever wanted me. You are from a species that values beauty and success. Why would you choose someone like me when you could return to your own world and find someone perfect?" Alex reached out slowly and took her hands in his. Her scales felt warm and smooth under his fingers. "Because perfect is boring and you are extraordinary. Because I would rather spend one day talking with you about science than a lifetime with someone who can't challenge my mind. Because when you smile, it makes me feel like I discovered something new about the universe." The tears spilled over and ran down Princess Zalara's face, leaving shiny tracks on her gray scales. "I do not understand how this is possible. No one has ever said such things to me. I thought I was destined to be alone forever." Her voice broke on the last words. "You don't have to be alone if you don't want to be," Alex said gently. "I know. This is sudden, and I know it means big changes for both of us. But I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Will you consider it?" Princess Zalara nodded slowly, unable to speak through her tears. Alex pulled her into a gentle hug and felt her shaking against him. They stood together on the balcony, holding each other, while the alien city hummed with activity below them. When news of Alex's proposal reached Emperor Korthax, the reaction was immediate and explosive. The throne room filled with angry nobles, demanding to know how a human dared ask for the princess that no Zephyrian wanted. Some called it an insult to their empire, while others worried it would make them look desperate to marry off their unwanted royal daughter to any alien willing to take her. Captain Rodriguez was furious when Alex told her what he had done. "You can't make decisions like this without discussing it with the team," she said, pacing around her quarters like a caged animal. "This affects the entire mission and possibly Earth's future relationship with the Zephyrian Empire. What if they take offense? What if they think we're mocking them by choosing their least desirable princess?" "Maybe they'll be relieved that someone finally wants her," Alex replied. "And maybe they'll realize that humans see value where others see only flaws. Isn't that exactly the kind of reputation we want to have in the galaxy?" Dr. Sarah Kim looked up from her cultural analysis pad with surprise. "Actually, Alex might be right about this. I've been studying Zephyrian psychology, and they respect species that can find hidden worth. Their greatest heroes are often beings who discovered valuable resources that others overlooked. If we can frame this correctly, it might actually increase their opinion of humanity." The debate continued for hours, but in the end, there was no choice. Alex had made his proposal, and Princess Zalara had accepted. Emperor Korthax agreed to the bonding partly because it solved the problem of his unmarriageable daughter, and partly because he was curious to see what the humans saw in her that his own people miss. The bonding ceremony was set for 3 days later, giving both species time to prepare. Zephyrian tradition required the male to undergo 3 trials to prove his worthiness. The trials were designed to test strength, wisdom, and creativity. Many nobles expected the soft human to fail embarrassingly. The first trial took place in the palace combat arena. Alex had to face a Zephyrian warrior in single combat using traditional weapons. The warrior was twice Alex's size with muscles like steel cables and reflexes like lightning. But Alex had studied human military history and knew that smaller fighters often won by using their opponent's size against them, instead of trying to overpower. The Zephyrian Alex used speed and misdirection. He dodged the warrior's powerful strikes and used momentum to throw his opponent off balance. When the warrior charged like a bull, Alex stepped aside at the last second, and the alien crashed into the arena wall. The crowd gasped in amazement as the human helped his dazed opponent to his feet with respect and courtesy. The second trial tested wisdom through a complex puzzle that had stumped Zephyrian nobles for generations. Alex had to arrange colored crystals in a pattern that would channel energy through an ancient machine. Most beings tried to solve it by brute force, testing every possible combination. But Alex studied the machine's design and realized it was based on musical harmonies rather than mathematical sequences. He arranged the crystals according to the frequency patterns he had learned while studying Zephyrian culture. The machine hung to life, filling the chamber with beautiful music and light. The assembled nobles whispered among themselves, impressed by the human's unconventional thinking. The third trial was the most important because it tested creativity. Alex was given raw materials and told to create something that would benefit the Zephyrian Empire. He had one day to complete his project while the court watched and judged his work. Alex thought about everything he had learned about Zephyrian society during his time on the planet. He had seen incredible technology and beautiful art, but he had also seen how their rigid social structure wasted brilliant minds like Princess Zelara's. His project would need to address that problem without insulting their traditions. Working through the night, Alex built a device that could translate thoughts directly into visual displays. But more than that, he designed it to work anonymously. Beings could submit ideas without revealing their identity, allowing the quality of thought to be judged without bias about the thinker's appearance or social status. When Alex demonstrated his invention the next morning, he showed how Princess Zelara's agricultural research could be shared without anyone knowing who created it. The device displayed her brilliant solutions to galactic food production problems in stunning visual detail. The assembled nobles were amazed by the complexity and innovation of the work. Emperor Corthax stood slowly from his throne with his silver scales brightening to an almost white glow. "Who created this research?" he demanded. "Such brilliant work should be rewarded with the highest honors in our empire." Alex smiled and gestured toward Princess Zelara, who had been watching from her usual place at the back of the chamber. "Your daughter created it, Your Majesty. She has been working on solutions to galactic agricultural problems for years, but your laws prevented her from sharing her discoveries." The Emperor's golden eyes widened with shock as he stared at his scarred daughter. "Zelara, you are responsible for this research?" Princess Zelara stepped forward with her chin raised proudly for the first time since Alex had known her. "Yes, Father. I have been studying xenobotany and terraforming for most of my adult life. I have solutions for food production problems on dozens of worlds, but I was forbidden to publish my work because I am unmarried." Her voice was steady and strong as she faced a father who had ignored her brilliance for so many years. The throne room erupted in amazed whispers as nobles realized they had been sitting in the presence of genius while treating Princess Zelara like she was invisible. Emperor Corthax looked stunned as he processed the implications of his daughter's hidden talents. "This changes everything," he said slowly. "If you possess knowledge this valuable, then your bonding is not just a political alliance. It is a union that will benefit our entire empire." He turned to Alex with new respect in his golden eyes. "Human, you have proven yourself worthy in ways I did not expect. You saw treasure where we saw only shame." The bonding ceremony took place the next evening in the palace's Crystal Cathedral. Representatives from dozens of species attended to witness the historic union between human and Zephyrian. Princess Zelara wore robes of silver and gold that made her scales shimmer like starlight. Alex wore his dress uniform with Zephyrian honor, cords that marked him as a worthy mate for imperial blood dot. As they spoke their vows in both human and Zephyrian languages, Alex felt like his life was finally beginning. Princess Zelara's hand in his felt perfect, and when she smiled at him during the ceremony, her happiness was so radiant that even the most prejudiced nobles had to admit She was beautiful. The real celebration began after the ceremony when Princess Zilara was finally permitted to present her research to the gathered scientists and diplomats. Her presentation on universal growing medium drew gasps of amazement from experts who had spent lifetimes working on similar problems. Her solutions for faster-than-light communication made the human delegation realize they were witnessing discoveries that would reshape galactic civilization. Over the next 3 days, Alex spent every free moment with Princess Zilara exploring the palace gardens and talking about science. Each conversation revealed new depths to her intelligence and creativity. She had solutions to problems that had puzzled human scientists for decades. More than that, she was kind and funny in ways that made Alex forget about the diplomatic mission entirely. The negotiations between humans and Zephyrians were not going well. Both sides wanted what the other had to offer, but neither wanted to give up their most valuable secrets. The Zephyrian ministers demanded increasingly steep prices for their technology, while Captain Rodriguez struggled to find something Earth could offer in return that would satisfy the alien empire's needs. On the fourth morning, Emperor Corthax called all the diplomats to an emergency session in the throne room. His silver scales had darkened to an angry pewter color, and his golden eyes blazed with frustration. "We have talked for days without progress," he announced in a voice that shook the crystal walls. "My advisors tell me that humans offer nothing. We truly need. Perhaps this alliance was a mistake." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward with her jaw set in determination. "Great Emperor, we are willing to negotiate further. Surely we can find terms that benefit both our peoples." But even Alex could hear the desperation in her voice. Earth needed Zephyrian technology to compete with other galactic powers. Without it, humanity would remain a minor species confined to their small corner of the galaxy. The Emperor's eyes swept over the human delegation like he was studying insects. "There is one tradition that might save these talks. For major alliances, people require marriage bonds between ruling families. If one of your delegation will accept permanent bonding with a member of our imperial house, then we can proceed. Otherwise, you must leave our space within 3 days and never return." The humans looked at each other in shock. Marriage had been mentioned as a possibility, but no one had seriously considered it. Captain Rodriguez's face went pale. "Your Majesty, perhaps we could discuss other forms of alliance. Cultural exchanges or joint research projects that would not require such personal sacrifices." Emperor Corthax waved a massive clawed hand dismissively. "Marriage bonds are nothing. That is our way. You have 3 days to decide." He stood from his throne and walked out of the chamber, leaving the human delegation in stunned silence. That afternoon, Alex found Princess Zilara sitting by a fountain in the center of the gardens. She looked sadder than he had ever seen her. Her gray scales seemed duller, and her golden eyes were focused on the water without really seeing it. "You heard about the Emperor's demand," she said when Alex sat beside her. "Yes, the whole palace is talking about it." Alex watched her face carefully. "Are you one of the imperial family members they might choose for this bonding?" Princess Zilara laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "Me? No one would ever choose me for such an important alliance. I am sure they will offer one of my beautiful cousins or perhaps a daughter from one of the noble houses. Someone whose appearance would not shame the Zephyrian people." She touched her scars again in the gesture Alex had come to recognize as her way of hiding from pain. "What if someone did choose you?" Alex asked quietly. "What would that mean?" "It would mean leaving everything I know to live with aliens in a strange place," she replied. "But it would also mean freedom from the laws that keep my research locked away. A bonded female can present her work to galactic institutions and contribute to imperial science programs. I have dreamed of that freedom my entire life, but I know it will never happen." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the fountain and watching alien birds fly between the purple trees. Alex found himself studying Princess Zilara's profile and thinking about how wrong her people were about her appearance. Her scales might not shimmer like jewels, but they had their own subtle beauty. Her scars told a story of survival and strength. When she smiled, her whole face lit up with intelligence and warmth. More than that, Alex had come to care about her. Happiness in a way that surprised him. He looked forward to their conversations more than anything else in his day. When she laughed at his jokes or got excited about a new scientific idea, he felt like he was exactly where he belonged. The thought of leaving Zephyria and never seeing her again made his chest tight with an emotion he was not ready to name. That evening, the human delegation held an emergency meeting in Captain Rodriguez's quarters aboard the New Horizon. The mood was grim as they discussed their limited options. "The Emperor made it clear this is our only chance," the captain said, pacing back and forth. "But asking someone to give up their entire life for a political marriage is not something I can order." Dr. Sarah Kim spoke up from her chair by the window. "What about a temporary arrangement? We could negotiate for limited bonding that would allow the person to return to Earth eventually." "The cultural files say Zephyrian bonding is permanent," replied Dr. Martinez, the team's other xenobiologist. "There's no such thing as divorce in this society. Whoever agrees to this will be stuck here forever." Alex listened to his colleagues debate options that seemed more hopeless with each passing minute. Finally, he stood up and cleared his throat. "What if I did it?" The room fell silent, and everyone stared at him. "What if I agreed to bond with whoever they choose? I'm not married back on Earth, and my research could continue here just as well as anywhere else." Captain Rodriguez looked at him with concern. "Alex, this isn't a joke. You'd be giving up your entire future on Earth for people you barely know. Your family, your career, your chance to find love with someone of your own species. Are you really willing to sacrifice all of that?" "It wouldn't be a sacrifice if it meant saving the mission," Alex replied. But even as he said the words, he knew that was not the whole truth. The idea of staying on Zephyria did not frighten him the way it should. The idea of staying near Princess Zalara actually made him feel hopeful in a way he had not expected. The next morning, Alex walked through the gardens looking for Princess Zalara. He found her on the same balcony where he had first noticed her reading alone. She stood at the crystal railing looking out at the city below with her device tucked under one arm. The morning sunlight made her gray scales look like polished silver. "Good morning," Alex said, joining her at the railing. "How are you feeling today?" "Resigned," she replied, without looking at him. "I have accepted that I will spend my life alone while more suitable candidates are chosen for important alliances. It is not the life I wanted, but it is the life I have." Alex took a deep breath and turned to face her fully. His heart was beating so hard he was sure she could hear it. What if you didn't have to be alone? What if someone wanted to choose you? Princess Zalara finally looked at him with confusion in her golden eyes. "I do not understand what you mean. Will you bond with me?" The words came out in a rush before Alex could lose his courage. "I know it sounds crazy, and I know we haven't known each other long, but I care about you. I think you're brilliant and beautiful, and any species that can't see that is missing out on something amazing." Princess Zalara stared at him with her mouth slightly open. For a long moment, the only sound was wind moving through the alien trees below them. Then she shook her head slowly. "You are not serious. This is some kind of joke, or perhaps pity. No one would choose me when they could have anyone else. I'm completely serious, and this has nothing to do with pity," Alex replied, stepping closer to her. "I choose you because I want to spend my life learning from you and sharing discoveries with you. I choose you because you make me laugh and you understand things about the universe that amaze me every day. I choose you because when I think about my future, the only thing that makes me happy is the thought of you being part of it." The second day of negotiations began with formal meetings in the palace council chamber. Alex sat with the other human scientists listening to discussions about trade routes and technology exchanges. The Zephyrian ministers spoke in careful diplomatic language about their empire's needs and what they might offer in return. But progress was slow, and both sides seemed to be holding back their best offers. During the lunch break, Alex decided to explore the palace grounds instead of staying with the diplomatic group. The gardens were incredible, with plants from dozens of worlds growing together in perfect harmony. Some flowers glowed with inner light, while others changed colors as he walked past them. The air smelled like honey and rained out as Alex walked down. A path lined with purple trees, he saw Princess Zalara sitting on a stone bench, reading the same device from the night before. She was alone again, even though several other Zephyrians walked through the gardens. They all avoided the area where she sat, as if she was surrounded by an invisible wall. Alex stopped walking and studied her more carefully. In the natural sunlight, her gray scales had a subtle pattern that was actually quite beautiful. The scars on her arms and neck looked old and well-healed. She held herself with dignity, despite being treated like she did not exist. Something about her reminded him of his sister back on Earth, who had always been the smartest person in the room. But too shy to speak up before he could change his mind, Alex walked over to her bench. Princess Zalara looked up with surprise and what might have been fear. Her golden eyes were large and intelligent. She quickly looked around to see if anyone was watching, then back at Alex with confusion. "Excuse me," Alex said, using his translation device. "I'm Dr. Alex Turner from the human delegation. I couldn't help but notice those plants behind you. Are they native to your world?" He pointed to a cluster of silver vines growing up the wall. "Princess." Zalara stared at him for a long moment, as if she could not believe he was speaking to her. "You are talking to me," she said finally. Her voice was soft and musical, like all Zephyrians, but with a hesitant quality. "Yes. Is that wrong?" "I'm sorry if I'm breaking some cultural rule," Alex replied. He had studied Zephyrian customs for months, but there was always something new to learn. The princess looked around the garden again, then shook her head slowly. "No, it is not wrong exactly. It is just that most beings prefer not to acknowledge my presence. I am considered unfit for polite company." She touched one of the scars on her neck unconsciously. Alex felt anger rise in his chest, but kept his voice calm. "That seems like a waste. I've been reading about Zephyrian botany, and those plants you're sitting near are fascinating. The silver vines are from the Andromeda sector, right? They can only grow in soil with specific mineral content." Princess Zalara's eyes widened with surprise. "You know about Andromedan flora. Most beings outside our empire have never heard of those plants. Yes, they require soil with high concentrations of crystalline compounds. We had to modify the garden's earth chemistry to grow them here." Her voice became more confident as she spoke about something she clearly understood well. "How do you modify soil chemistry on such a large scale without affecting the other plants?" Alex asked, sitting down on the bench beside her. Princess Zalara moved slightly away from him, but did not leave. For the next hour, they talked about plants and soil science and terraforming techniques. Alex discovered that Princess Zalara knew more about xenobotany than anyone he had ever met. She had studied the agricultural systems of hundreds of worlds and could explain complex ecological relationships with perfect clarity. When she forgot to be self-conscious about her appearance, her whole personality changed. She became animated and passionate about her knowledge. "I have been working on a project to create universal growing medium that could support crop from any world," she said, showing him diagrams on her device. "If successful, it would allow colonies to grow food from their home planets no matter where they settle." Alex looked at the complex calculations and molecular diagrams with amazement. "This is incredible work. Have you published these findings?" The Galactic Agricultural Council would be fascinated by this research. Princess Zalara's enthusiasm faded, and she looked down at her hands. "Unmarried females of royal blood cannot present research to outside organizations. My work must remain private until I am bonded to a suitable mate." Her voice became bitter. "Since no one wants to bond with me, my research will likely never be seen by others." "That's the stupidest rule I've ever heard," Alex said before he could stop himself. Princess Zalara looked shocked by his bluntness. "I'm sorry, but it is. You developed something that could help feed millions of beings across the galaxy, and you can't share it because of some ancient law about marriage? That makes no sense." Princess Zalara was quiet for several minutes. Then she said, "You are very different from other species. Most beings would not question our customs so directly." She did not sound offended, just curious. "Humans tend to be direct about things that seem unfair," Alex replied. "We've had to fight against stupid rules throughout our history. Maybe that makes us rude sometimes, but it also helps us see when things need to change." They talked until late afternoon, when Alex realized he had missed the entire second half of the diplomatic meetings. Captain Rodriguez would probably be angry with him, but he found that he did not care. Talking with Princess Zalara was the most interesting conversation he had had in months. As they walked back toward the palace, Princess Zalara stopped suddenly. "Why are you being kind to me? What do you want?" Her voice was suspicious and hurt. "Are you trying to gather information about our defenses? Or perhaps you think becoming friends with the unwanted princess will somehow help your people's negotiations?" Alex felt his heart break a little at the pain in her voice. "I'm being kind because you're interesting and intelligent, and you deserve to be treated with respect. I don't want anything except to continue our conversation. You know more about xenobotany than my entire science team combined, and you've been sitting alone because people are too shallow to see past your appearance." Princess Zalara studied his face for a long time, as if looking for signs that he was lying. Finally, she said, "No one has ever said anything like that to me before." Her voice was so quiet Alex had to lean closer to hear her. "Then you've been talking to the wrong people," he replied. That evening at dinner, Princess Zalara was seated at the same small table as before. But this time Alex asked Captain Rodriguez if he could sit with her instead of at the main diplomatic table. The captain looked surprised, but agreed after Alex explained that he was learning valuable information about Zephyrian science. As they ate together, Princess Zalara told Alex about her other research projects. She had developed new forms of renewable energy and improvements to faster-than-light travel systems. All of her work remained locked away in private files because of laws that prevented unmarried royal females from contributing to imperial science programs. "Your people are wasting incredible talent," Alex said quietly so other diners could not hear. "On Earth, we learned long ago that excluding brilliant minds because of gender or social status only makes everyone poor." Princess Zalara smiled for the first time since Alex had met her. It transformed her entire face, making her look younger and happier. "I like the way humans think," she said. "Perhaps that is why so many species find you unpredictable. You see possibilities where others see only problems." As the evening continued, Alex realized that he was enjoying Princess Zalara's company more than any social event he could remember. She was funny and thoughtful and incredibly knowledgeable about subjects he loved. When she laughed at his stories about Earth, it was like music. By the time they said goodnight, Alex was already looking forward to seeing her again tomorrow. The massive human ship called New Horizon moved slowly through the dark space toward a planet that glowed purple and blue in the distance. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge looking at the alien world through the big window. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Earth needed what the Zephyrians had to offer, and she would not let her people down. Dr. Alex Turner sat at his desk in the science lab, reading files about the aliens they were about to meet. The Zephyrians were tall creatures with scales that changed colors like jewels. They were strong warriors who had built a huge empire across many star systems. But what made Alex nervous was their culture. These aliens cared more about how someone looked than anything else. Beauty meant power in their world. Ugliness meant shame. The ship's speakers crackled to life. Captain Rodriguez's voice filled every room. "All crew prepare for orbital approach. Diplomatic team report to Shuttle Bay 3 in 1 hour." Alex closed his files and put on his best uniform. Today would change everything for humanity or end their hopes of joining the galactic community. The shuttle ride down to the planets. Surface took 30 minutes. Alex looked out the small window at cities that sparkled like diamonds. Tall towers reached toward the sky, with designs no human architect could imagine. Flying vehicles moved between the buildings in perfect patterns. The Zephyrians had technology that was hundreds of years ahead of Earth's best science. When the shuttle landed at the Imperial Palace, Alex's breath caught in his throat. The building was made from some kind of crystal that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Guards in golden armor stood at attention as the human delegation walked across the landing pad. Each guard was at least 8 feet tall, with scales that shifted from emerald green to sapphire blue. Emperor Korthax waited for them in a throne room that could hold 1,000 people. The alien ruler's scales were pure silver that seemed to glow with inner light. His eyes were like liquid gold, and his voice boomed across the huge chamber when he spoke. Welcome, humans, to the heart of our empire. We have heard much about your young species. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward and bowed in the Zephyrian fashion they had practiced for months. Great Emperor, we come seeking friendship and trade between our peoples. We offer our knowledge and friendship in exchange for yours. The translation device on her belt turned her words into the musical language of the Zephyrians. Alex stood with the other scientists and diplomats as formal greetings continued for over an hour. He studied the alien nobles who filled the throne room. Their scales showed every color he could imagine, and some he had no names for. The most beautiful ones stood closest to the throne, while those with duller scales stayed near the back. It was exactly what the cultural files had described, but seeing it in person made Alex uncomfortable. When the formal ceremony ended, Emperor Korthax clapped his massive hands twice. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Now we feast and discuss the future. Music began playing from hidden speakers as servants brought in tables loaded with alien foods. The smells were strange but not unpleasant dot as the crowd moved toward the dining area. Alex noticed someone sitting alone in a corner of the throne room. It was a female Zephyrian, but something was different about her. Her scales were dull gray instead of the brilliant colors worn by everyone else. Scars covered parts of her neck and arms. Other aliens walked past her without looking down as if she did not exist. Alex caught Captain Rodriguez by the sleeve. Who is that? He asked quietly, pointing toward the lone figure. The captain followed his gaze and checked her cultural briefing pad. That must be Princess Zalara, the Emperor's daughter. The files say she was injured by disease as a child. Her people consider her. She paused, looking for diplomatic words. Undesirable for marriage alliances. The feast hall was enormous, with hundreds of tables arranged in a complex pattern that showed social rank. The humans were seated at tables close to the Emperor's platform, which was a great honor. Alex found himself between 2 Zephyrian scientists who were eager to discuss human technology. But his attention kept drifting to Princess Zalara, who had been seated at a small table by herself near the back of the hall. As the evening went on, Alex watched alien diplomats and nobles from dozens of species mingle and make deals. Many were clearly trying to arrange marriages with Zephyrian nobles to gain access to their advanced technology. But no one approached the princess. She sat alone reading something on a small device while eating quietly. Dr. Sarah Kim, the mission's cultural expert, leaned over to Alex during the 3rd course. Stop staring at her. It's considered rude in their culture to acknowledge someone of such low social status. Alex nodded but found it hard to look away. There was something about the princess that seemed familiar. Maybe it was the way she held herself, or how she focused so intently on her reading despite being ignored by everyone around her. The Emperor stood to give a speech about cooperation between species and the importance of strong alliances. As he spoke about the need for marriages to seal important treaties, Alex noticed Princess Zalara look up from her device. For just a moment, her golden eyes met his across the crowded hall. She looked surprised that anyone was paying attention to her, then quickly looked down again. After the speech ended, music started playing and couples began dancing in the center of the hall. Alex watched young Zephyrian nobles compete for the attention of visitors from other worlds. The mating rituals were complex, with specific movements that showed family wealth and genetic fitness. Princess Zalara remained at her table watching. The dancers with an expression that Alex could not read Captain. Rodriguez appeared at Alex's side holding 2 glasses of something that bubbled and tasted like fruit. "How are you handling your first alien formal dinner?" she asked with a smile. "It's fascinating from an anthropological perspective," Alex replied. "But their social hierarchy seems very rigid. That princess over there has been completely ignored. All evening, even though she's the Emperor's daughter." The captain followed his gaze and frowned. "Alex, I need you to focus on why we're here. The Zephyrians have faster-than-light communication technology that could revolutionize how Earth stays in contact with our colonies. They have medical advances that could cure diseases we've struggled with for centuries. Don't get distracted by their internal politics." Alex nodded, but as the evening continued, he found himself glancing toward Princess Elara's table again, and again. When she got up to leave early, he noticed that she moved with grace despite her scars. She walked past tables full of beings from across the galaxy, and none of them bothered to acknowledge her presence. As she reached the exit, she paused for just a moment and looked back at the dancing couples. The expression on her face was not anger or jealousy, but something deeper. It was loneliness so complete that Alex felt it in his chest like a physical pain. The next morning would bring the real negotiations. Earth's future depended on making a deal with these proud aliens. But as Alex returned to his quarters on the New Horizon that night, he could not stop thinking about the princess who sat alone while the galaxy celebrated around her.